In this video, we're going to transform this old wooden fence that's basically held up by vines into a new taller pressure treated fence using the pre-built 6x8 dog ear fence panels and adding a whole new look to our backyard. So let's get started. First, you can see that the previous owner added this steel wire fencing along the whole way, so I would like to keep that for use later on other things, so I have to remove all these vines that are interwoven in between everything. I'm going to use all the old posts that are up, except for this one, which is broken at ground level. So with the beauty of editing, you can see me picking off these vines that took me about an hour or so into about 5 seconds here, and there it's all done. So the next thing I have to do is remove all these old fence staples, which were a pain to deal with. Now that I had it all off and laying on the ground, I wanted to make sure the beginning was rolled as tight as possible. And after I struggled around to get the string around the whole roll, I finally was able to tie it off and move it. Because of how old and rotten this fence was, it was pretty easy to pry off all the 2x from the posts. Now, one reason I use these fence panels was because of the time saving that it does allow. Second reason is I did calculate my whole length and how much it would be to buy all the pressure treated 2x plus all the fence panels individually and have to build out the whole fence myself, and these pre-built fence panels did end up being a little bit cheaper. However, I did not calculate in the cost of any extra screws or anything, so there would be that additional cost. With it being a factory-made item, there are issues such as larger gaps than you would have if you put the whole panel together yourself, so you just have to weigh your options and figure out what would be best for you. For this and a few other panels, I did have to cut off the end a little bit so it would fall halfway on the 4x4 post. Now, like you can see on the fence beside where I'm standing, normally the 2x's are facing towards the yard that you own. However, this is in the backyard, and this is the area that we are going to most enjoy and spend our time, so we would rather have the good looking side on our side, plus the people that installed the back fence panel did it the same way, so I'm just kind of blending it in with that also. And then the same process continues, taking one old panel off and putting a new panel on. This next section is different, and we do have to work on putting in a new post. Now, to remove this old post in the concrete, I had to get creative because I did not have a tractor or anything. So I had to rig up the floor jack just right, and after several failed attempts, I got the puzzle put together the proper way and finally was able to get it removed. After all the effort into getting that out, I figured I deserved a little break for some sweet tea, and as I sat there I imagined about all the work I still had ahead of myself, so I ended my break and got back to it. I never knew setting posts in concrete in different ways was so controversial, but there I just did it again, and if you want to see the controversy, you can just go to my fire pit video, I'll link it, and look at the comments. There's so many ways different people are saying you need to do it, so I did it the same way as I did in that video. I don't care. But just look at the cool atmospheric smoke it gives for this shot. Here you can already start seeing how the different panels are at a different level with each other, and that is because in the middle of the yard it does go lower, and I just ended up leveling out each panel and setting it on the ground. So it does go lower in the middle and then goes back higher in the back of the yard. Because of the pre-built panel, this 2x was sticking out a little bit, so I had to cut it off with the multi-tool. Now, here in the middle of putting the panels up was another one that I had to cut off the end, and just eyeing it a little bit, you can blend it in really well with the multi-tool and just cut the corner off. Looks just like it was made like that. So here my wife and I was doing some good teamwork, and she was pulling off old panels and weeds while I was putting on the new panels, which made it go a bit faster. This was an extra high part in the yard, so I did loosen the dirt and dig out some space to allow it to be a little bit lower. And then the last section here, I just cleared away some brush before putting on the last panel. And yet another end that needed cut off. This last section I used individual panel boards and nailed them on. Here's a little tip from an older guy that I used to work with that built houses for several years of his life. He said when you're holding these nails, to hold them kind of at an angle like this, enough to where when you're hammering it in, if you go over too far, the hammer kind of slips off of your finger instead of holding it sideways like that, and then you just bam right into your thumb. So if you hold it at an angle, you have less chance of getting your thumb or finger all jammed up with your hammer. I wanted to preface my next clip by saying I built this fence going back as far as I did because the people that put in the fence for the back line of our yard actually came up to line up with the building rather than just going back even with the rest of the neighbors' fences. Alright, so that was the last bit of that being done, and this is still here because eventually it's going to get moved back there. And then all this brush will have to get cleared out because, you know, that's going to gain me quite a bit of extra space here. So yeah, I'm going to be getting a stump grinder eventually, renting one, and here's another one that I'll have to grind, including our one out here. But yeah, that's going to be really nice. But the best part is that I'm looking forward to is the space I'll gain on the other side of our building over here. So that's going to be another big project, taking these out and moving them. And that concludes the fix of our fence, going from this to this and totally transforming our yard. I just want to say thanks so much for watching, and if you want to follow for more, you know what button to hit.